Hello and welcome, it's Chris from Christopher Hall Training, and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to talk about core strength and stability, and which kind of is born from, certainly this tutorial is born from listening to and watching other fitness professionals, celebrities, putting up their fitness challenges, and what's starting to happen is it's starting to come out as a sort of abdominal sit-ups and crunches challenge, which basically means they're asking you to do a certain amount of sit-ups and crunches per day. So what I'd like to do is talk about the effects of that, be it not that good. It's not that good for core strength and stability, and it's also not good for back and spine health. So we want to try and move away from sit-ups and crunches, and certainly those exercises. So I'll expand on that and tell you why. The information that I'm talking about is in my How to Build Core Strength and Stability ebook, which you can see here. So I'll be touching on some elements that I cover, which is basically, if I go back up to the start, what you've got is I'm talking about the anatomy of the core up here. Then we go into sort of the function of the core, so the different muscles. Continue down. And then we get into different exercises, core strength and stability, how we can train the core for rehabilitation, how we can train the core for fitness. What else have we got in here? And then we've got some exercises to start doing, some exercises to avoid, so some do's and don'ts. And then finally, sort of some guidelines to sort of pull all that information together with regards to the exercises. So we talk about reps, sets, how long do we hold these exercises for, and sort of put that together into a workout. So that essentially is what the ebook's about. But coming back to the sit-up and crunches challenges that are being set at the moment, the reason we want to avoid them is very simply those exercises, one, they aren't good for the spine, and I'll explain why, and two, they aren't using the core as it's designed to be used, which I'll also come on to. So number one, the health of your spine. So if you can imagine, this is my spine, so I got a vertebrae on top of a vertebrae, and then I'm bending it back and forth, like so. That's essentially the movement of a sit-up or a crunch. Now, here is an old bank card of mine. Now, how do we go about breaking these bank cards? Well, one of the simple ways of doing it, obviously you can cut it with some scissors. The other way is to bend it back and forth, like so. So this is very similar to the sit-ups and the crunches. Now, we all know what happens to a bank card when we bend it back and forth. Eventually, the fibers or the structure within this plastic, they weaken, and then eventually the card breaks, and then it's very easy to snap. So that's the basic premise or the basic metaphor of why we don't do sit-ups and crunches, because eventually the tissues in the body will wear down, will degrade, and then eventually they will weaken enough to become damaged. Now, if I take my spine here, so my vertebrae and my vertebrae, there is a disc in between. So if I then take one vertebrae off the top, I've then exposed the top of the disc, and I can look down on it from a bird's eye view. So what you see when you look down at a bird's eye view at the vertebrae is you'll see like a fibrous wall around the outside, which is, a few layers thick, and then you've got like a gelatinous fluid in the middle. And then again, as you're bending these back and forth, you're gradually pushing that fluid through the fibers of the wall, or through the fibers of the vertebrae, and then what eventually happens is that can then poke through and give you a back problem. So give you possibly a disc bulge or a disc herniation, but what it will certainly do, it will weaken the tissues around the spine and the potential or greater potential for a sort of a back problem or a back injury. So with regards to spine health, they're not good, because it's these bending cycles, which is what they're known as, it's these bending cycles that are contributing to the back problem. So the more we do during sit-ups and crunches, so if we're doing them every single day and multiple times, then that's going to be a problem. Then we talk about the core strength and stability part of it. So we're now talking about the anatomy. Well, there are certain You can call them secrets within your anatomy, if you want to call it that. But basically, you've got your abdominal muscles, and you know your abdominal muscles look a bit like a six-pack. Now, that's designed a specific way. Now, many people think it's there to sort of flex your torso forward. But that actual design isn't there to flex your torso forward. It's there to be able to hold and compress that area. So and these are called hoop stresses. So as you tense your abdominals and hold them in a static position, it's that design that is then able to take greater loads and spread the stresses around the torso. So it's not designed to go sort of contraction, relaxation, sort of flex forward. That's not how it's designed, and that's not how it becomes strong. It becomes strong by being in the upright posture, holding statically in exercises like planks and side planks and things like that. And that is then creating a compression around the torso, which is spreading the load. Now, the greater and the better we can train that, the stronger and the stronger the core is going to become, and the more stable the spine will become within that. So we want to avoid sit-ups and crunches for those two basic regions. So as we then come out and understand this a little bit further, we start to look at how the core is designed and why certain muscles. So why are the obliques coming in diagonally? Why are there 3 layers to the spine? 3 layers to the core muscles. And we can, again, in the ebook, I explain this in a little bit more depth. We can start to understand, well, okay, there is a sort of a functional design to that. It's not just there because when we get a low body fat, it will look good. It's there for a more functional design, which then starts to go into how we move around from day to day to keep our core strong and spine healthy. So core strength and stability is very different than, or how you build core strength and stability is very different to just doing a bunch of sit-ups and crunches. Those exercises should be avoided. They don't give you core strength and stability, and they diminish the health of your spine. I also talk about other exercises in here which, in a sense, they squash and squeeze your spine. So if you can imagine holding a sponge and then squeezing it like that, there are certain exercises that do that as well, which I talk about in the ebook. So again, those types of exercises should be avoided. And then I talk about other exercises which are able to contract the same muscles but not put as much pressure on the spine. So then again, that's sort of developing the health of the spine by keeping the muscles active and keeping them strong, but not putting that excess pressure around the spine, or as it's known as compression around the spine, in a sense squeezing it and squashing it, making it or diminishing the health of the spine. So there are some other bits with regards to exercises that are in there. So I talk about bad exercises, I talk about ugly exercises, which are even worse than the bad exercises, and then I talk about 8 different exercises that you can start doing, which are going to hold that posture, which are going to develop how your muscles compress around your torso, but don't sort of negate the health of the spine. So they're able to distribute the load around. So I talk about that, and as I mentioned, you can then start putting that together into workouts. So if I have one bit of advice, and to summarise this tutorial, is 1, please don't do sit-ups and crunches because they won't give you the core strength and stability that you need. They won't develop the health of your spine. In fact, they will probably go some way towards diminishing it. If you want to find out more, just go to the link in the description below, and you can go through and you can download the ebook. Again, it covers all of what I've talked about and more. If I just, what do we talk about? How the core is really meant to work, which I've touched on. How the muscles of the core are really meant to work. So we break down each individual muscle and talk about how it's designed and how it's meant to be used. Secret muscles of the core, how to engage the secret muscles, 2 types of core exercises that enhance core strength and stability, how the muscles of the core work together, the differences between core strength and stability, how to train for rehabilitation. Again, if you've got a bad back and you want to develop spine health, I can talk you through it there. How to train for core fitness, which we've kind of touched on, and as I've mentioned, 2 bad exercises, 1 ugly exercises, 8 good exercises and 8 good exercises to start, and then how to put it all together in into a workout. So again, if that sounds like something that you might want to find out a little bit more about, click the link below, go through to the page, and you can download that ebook. So many thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's pointed you in the direction of some exercises to start doing, some exercises to avoid doing, and also why you need to start those and avoid those. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Christopher Hall Training. I will speak to you in a future tutorial.